Okay, Papa, this is a first video of three that I'm hoping to get finished today for you on the cipher pattern. And I thought it might be a good idea to just leave all the charts and Fibonacci tools and all that stuff out of it and just go over some basic geometry here of the XABC cipher pattern. And the first part that I think you need to focus on is the distance from X to A to B, and B to C. So that's 1, 2, 3 steps that are going to qualify the cipher pattern. Before you even worry about the C to D, you need to start by understanding the X to A to B, and the B to C, and how all those relate to each other. So I'm pretty sure you know that the X to A is your impulse leg. And the diagram that I have drawn out here is a bullish setup, and you'll know that because the C is higher than the X. And for that matter, the A and the B are higher than the X. If this was a bearish setup, so a sell setup, it would look just the opposite. X, A, B to C. So X, A, B to C. I know that's kind of a crude rendering there, but you can see here X to A to B to C is just opposite as X to A to B to C. So hopefully you can identify this as a bullish setup, X to A being the impulse leg, A to B being the retrace, and B to C is the extension or expansion. Now, in our example here, I've got X to A as 80 pips. So this distance here is 80 pips from X to A. Now, in order to qualify for a cipher pattern, it has to be a 38, 50, or 618 retrace back into the X to A leg. And we know it can't close below this 618. Okay? So a 38.2 retrace of X to A is the same thing as 38.2% of this total distance here from X to A. Okay? So if this is 80 pips and you did a calculator, 80 pips times 0.382% on the calculator is 30.5 pips. So if it's a 38.2 retrace based on an 80% or 80 pip impulse leg, price is going to retrace 30 pips before continuing. If it's a 50% retrace on the calculator, you're going to put 80 times 0.50 for 50%, and that's going to give you a 40% retrace, which will be right down in here. A 618 is 61.8% of the 80 pip X to A, which is going to give you 50 pips, roughly 49.5 pips back into the X to A leg before continuing on. So I hope that sort of explains a little bit about the dynamic relationship of X to A back down to B and what that looks like. Okay, your 38.2 is actually just 38% of this total distance. And that's how you know you have your fib tool drawn properly. If it's a bullish setup, you know, when price starts retracing, it's going to hit the 38.2 first. It's going to hit the 50 second, and it's going to hit the 618 third. So the 618 is going to be more of a retrace, a deeper retrace, than the 38.2. Now, after you've got the X to A to B, and price moves back above the A here and continues on up towards the C, Then you're looking at your expansion targets and your extension targets. And the rules here are the distance from B to C is an extension of the 80 pip X to A move. So, with that being said, a 127.2 extension of the 80 pip X to A move would be the same thing as if you put a calculator on it. 80 pips times 1.272 or 127.2% is going to net you 100 pips, 102 pips this direction. Okay? Now if it's a 141 extension of the XA move, 80 pips times 1.41 or 141% is going to net you 113 pips in this direction. So once again, this is your XA impulse leg. A to B is the retrace, and B to C is the extension. You need to qualify those 3 steps before worrying anything about D. So we'll talk about D in the next video, and I hope this is pretty basic stuff for you. I hope you can grasp this. So